my wedded wife,
to be my wedded husband,
to have,
to hold,
from this day forward, for better
or worse,
for richer
or poorer,
in sickness
and in health,
till
death do us part, according to God's holy ordinance. I pledge thee my faith and myself to you. Welcome to Vow Triumph, where we break down the marriage vows and what they truly mean. A lot of people say them because it's the norm. It's what we say at the wedding, right? It's the ceremony. But think about the negative components in your vows, the or poorer, in sickness, or the worse. While it is great to be optimistic, nobody ever thinks that those things will come. But for many people, they come, and they come full throttle. This series is all about the true meaning behind the vows and how to make it to the top. Stick around if you want triumph in your vows.
Respect him. I have witnessed, and I know I'm going to continue to witness as I continue to grow my relationship with my cousin. He's a good husband. I told them this when I first started watching their podcast, listen to their podcast. Being in your mid-30s, sometimes, being single and trying to date, you encounter a lot of guys who don't essentially know who they are as a man and don't know what kind of role they should play in a relationship. But the first time I heard him speak on the Inspiry Love podcast, I was like, wow, it just gives me hope as a single woman to hopefully one day experience someone of his caliber, in the sense that he knows who he is as a man. He knows what he stands for, and he's not uncomfortable in saying no, saying yes. He's a great provider. He's very humble. Every time that I come and spend time with him, like, I'm welcome with open arms. And it's just nice to, like, if I ever, need any advice or anything, he's always there to just listen and help me and guide me. And I just truly appreciate that, because I know it's coming from a genuine place and a place of love, and it's also coming, from his heart. So.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 1 of Vow Triumph, to be my wedded husband. Tonight we're going to be talking about the role of a husband, good characteristics in a husband, and also basically real stories about our life. So I'm here with my husband, Elder Nathan Ebro. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Very good. We're just going to tell the people a little bit about how we met and how we came about, and it was basically church. Yeah. I see memes on my husband is my best friend all the time, and they'll say, would you marry your husband in the same place you met him? And I would say, yeah, why not? The church. And we grew up, his parents knew my grandparents, so we were very familiar. Even from a young age, we've been knowing each other all our lives. Right. We've been together. Can you believe it'll be 16 years this September 2019.
Wow.
16 years, 13 years married.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, you just have to say that. Yeah. No, but that's just a little bit of background about us. We got married when he was 21. You were 21? I was 18. So we were very young, going through things and just trying to figure life out together as one. So we have been through a few things to help people and encourage people to have healthy and happy relationships, and that's what this show is about. It is about building marriages and letting you know, for engaged people or singles, what your vows truly mean, what you're truly saying, and what the commitment that you are really trying to that you have committed yourself to, and it's a real big commitment. And Nate doesn't like to talk about himself, so I'm going to talk about him as a husband. He is definitely a great provider. He's there for me financially, emotionally, and physically, and he has been one of my biggest support systems as far as being there for me and encouraging me to go after my dreams. And we've been together since day one, so it's very. He's literally my best friend. I talk to him about everything from my period to to basketball sports. We talk about everything together. And when I think about the role of a husband, the first thing that comes to my mind is being a provider.
Right.
And I'm not talking. I am talking about financial providing, but I'm also talking about emotionally and physically, if you know what I mean, providing for your wife or to your future wife. And in Genesis, in the transgression in the garden, it talks about what happened, or basically the fall of man, like what the woman has to have a painful childbirth, and then to the man he was told,
by the sweat of your brow. Like, a lot of people, I think, want the easy way out, and I was one of them for so long. I thought things would just come to me because I was a preacher, because I was a child of God. Like, things is just going to fall into place for me without working. I think maybe I'm just going to hit the lottery or something because God loves me.
Yeah.
But even me, as a preacher, as a child of God, by the sweat of my brow, I have to make a living. I have to work hard. If I don't go out there and work extra, I might be short.
Yeah.
So, by the sweat of my brow, I have to work to
Yeah.
provide for my family. And like you said, there are many levels of providing. Like, we find and we see every day that there are husbands and that really don't even love their wives, but they can still be a good financial provider.
Right.
And as people get so caught up on the financial aspect of it that they think that's it. It's so much more than for just finances.
Yeah.
Like, there are some of my coworkers that try to be out longer just so they don't have to go home.
That's terrible.
Oh, you're providing financially, you're working extra, but you're slacking in the area of the physical providing. You have to provide yourself for your wife.
Right. And there's a lot of women that stay with a man just for financial reasons, yet he's not emotionally providing for you. Like you said, it's different levels to providing. It's the financial side, and then there's that emotional and physical. Just show me a little affectionate, rub on me, let me know that let me know that you're there, that I can talk to you, provide support and guidance for me, be there. And I see a lot of women nowadays, they don't get out of relationships and marriages because, oh, he's a good provider.
Right.
Well, he's providing you financially, but what is he doing emotionally for you? Exactly. What is he doing to keep you basically? Just keep you, because if you're not getting emotional support, finances is just finances, whatever. But if you're not getting emotional support, your mind starts to drift. You start trying to look elsewhere. You want to do, you looking at other people, seeing what they can do for you, and it's just it's too much. So as a husband, you have to be a provider, not just financially, but emotionally, physically, not withholding sex. If your wife wants to get it on with her, things like that. So it's just important that, and for women, and we'll get to that in episode 2 of the woman's responsibilities, but for women out there, make sure that you have a man that is providing for you emotionally.
Right.
Because when we know firsthand. Well, I know that when we were down in the finances, very, very broke, and we'll get to that in the For Richer or For Poor episode, but we were very broke at one point, and I was still emotionally there. Right. Even though financially, like, I was drained, I was tired, I was just like, when is this going to end? But I was still emotionally connected to you. Right. And that, I'm pretty sure that's what God allowed, that connection for us, and then he allowed us to stay together through that emotional connection that we had.
And even though there's still like a income gap in gender, there are a lot of women out there that can financially take care of themselves. They don't need a man financially. Yeah. There are a lot of women out there making 10 times more than what a lot of these men are making. So they're not looking for you to come and provide financially.
Right,
so you have to provide for them in the other ways.
That's a great and valid point. I like that. And another component or the role of a husband is to protect your wife. And I always, whenever I think about protection of something, I think of the scripture in Genesis, bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. Like, we came from you, woman. Like, we are y'all. Y'all are supposed to protect us like your own selves. And I think that's actually somewhere in the Bible. I don't think it necessarily use the word protect, but it's somewhere in the Bible. And it's just there is a story about you and me and the Snowmageddon. Snowmageddon is a real thing. Look it up. Snowmageddon in Atlanta is a real thing. And we were stuck out there for over 20 hours. I think, it was almost 24 hours. It was over 20 hours. And we're not going to go through the full story. You can listen to that on episode 4, Commitment, of our podcast, Love Inspiry. And basically, I was out there stranded in an unknown neighborhood. It was East Cobb, Atlanta, and if anybody's familiar with the Marietta area, it's an upscale area, but still, just because you live in an upscale area doesn't mean you're not a psychopath or you're not crazy. So I was in technically a good area, but my husband walked 9.5 miles just to get to me and protect me and shield me from anybody that could have been out there. I don't know who would have been dumb enough to be out there trying to stalk somebody, but things happen. And I just always feel like it's a man's job to protect his wife, protect his woman, and not even just physically, not somebody messing with you, go beat them up, but emotionally protect them from bad spirits and things that you see that they don't necessarily see. And you do that a lot for me, even in church. If somebody is preaching and and I feel like it is wrong or something, I'll come to you and ask you, and you'll clean it up for me. And that's protecting me spiritually. Right. It's not just it doesn't these terms are so much deeper than just protect. Right. You protect physically, you protect mentally, you protect emotionally, and you also protect my sanity. I can't stand it sometimes, but I'll ask for advice, and sometimes, like, I want you to be Petty Patrick. Right. But you won't be Petty Patrick. Right. So I have to go be Petty LaBelle by myself. But, you'll correct me and tell me if I'm being wrong about something, or and that's protecting me. Right. Me solely, because you don't want me out there looking like an idiot or a dummy,
Exactly. Yeah, protection goes way more, like you said, than just, somebody disrespected my girl, so let me beat them up. That's really not protecting. In a way, you can't protect your significant other and do something that's gonna make you end up in jail, rather. Right. That's not protecting, because if I wind up in jail, how can I protect you from there? So I have to make sound decisions in every aspect of life, knowing that if I'm gonna protect in the future, I have to physically be there. Right. And if I go out and feel as if somebody disrespected you, and I go out here and punch somebody in the face, and I wind up in jail, and then I lose my income and lose my job, I can no longer provide or protect. So, you have to be sound in your decisions.
Yeah, and I also think about one of the 3 things, when I was putting this together, what are the 3 top roles of a husband? What are good things that I look for? And I said protect. We talked about protect. We talked about providing. And we also need to talk about being a leader. Whether we like it or not, it's in the Bible that the man is the head of the household, and he follows God, and then it's him, and he makes the decisions and things like that. Right. So I think leadership is very important in a man and in the role of a husband, because the husband, to me, he sets the precedent for the household. Right. And good leadership is very important in running your household, I don't want to say running your wife like that, but just maintaining stability. That's a good word. Stability around the house.
Right. And I think the greatest commission for a husband, rather, was to love his wife as Christ loved the church. And in that, you have to not only love your wife, but you have to walk like Christ. If you walk like Christ in every aspect of life, all these other things will fall into place. because you're going to be humble. You're going to make decisions that ultimately will affect you and your family in the long run.
Yeah.
So you won't try to live an extravagant and an unnecessary life, because that's not what Christ did.
Yeah.
Christ was God.
Yeah.
and he took on the form of a man.
Mm-hmm.
He humbled himself from the right hand of the Father to come down here knowing he would be spit on, knowing he would be crucified, knowing he would be talked about, knowing he would come to his own and his own wouldn't receive him. But yet he did that. Yet he loved for better or for worse.
Right.
That's a deep love, and we're supposed to have that same deep love. That even though we may get on each other's nerves, and even though we may have disagreements, the love is still supposed to go on.
Right. And good leadership, I always think of, I took a lot of leadership classes, and the commonality in those leadership classes is good leaders need to know how to be good followers.
Right.
So just because your husband, ladies, and I'm talking to you right now, just because your husband is the head of the household, and now I'm talking to the husband, sometimes we husbands have to learn when to bring their wife in. If you lack, where you're weak, your wife may be strong, and vice versa.
Right.
But I think good leadership is knowing when to sit down at the table and let's have a conversation. Let's work through this together. Let's talk about this together. Even though I'm the head of the household, I respect and I value your opinions. I value what you bring to the table, and let's come to a
right now. And husbands, you have to know that you are still the leader, even if you have to ask for help.
Right.
If I go to Barack Obama when he was president and I gave him a suggestion that he wants to apply to his leadership, he's still the president.
Yeah.
Even though he might have took my advice, he's still the leader. He's still the president of the United States.
I like that.
And if your wife gives you advice that will help your relationship, you are still the leader of the house. That doesn't change anything.
Yeah. I think leadership is very important, and you brought up something that reminded me of something that I wanted to say, and it is I think about women having a hard time being submissive, and I'll talk about that in episode 2. But when you have a man of God, when you have somebody that's not just saying they're a Christian, but a doer of the word, you should have no issues being submissive and submitting to him, because you know who you're following.
Right.
If I believe that Christ is the head of my life, he's the head of my life, and then you're my husband, and I know you believe that Christ is the head of your life, you should have no problem submitting to that man.
Right.
And respecting him as the head of your household.
Exactly.
That's just my personal opinion about it. And another thing, as far as the role of a husband is to be faithful, and that's for the woman too. But like I said, the man sets the precedent, so he needs to be a one-woman man.
Right.
Either be it or just don't get married.
Right.
And I'm not a man, so I don't understand why men have a hard time being faithful, but I know you have been very faithful to me, and it always irritates me when I hear people say black men cheat, or all men cheat. That's what they say, all men cheat. And it's just, well, just because you have one bad apple in the bunch doesn't mean all the apples are rotten.
Right.
Just because you had one bruised orange in your little cutie's sun-kissed bag doesn't mean all of them are bruised.
Right. And we have to understand who we're fighting against. You got to realize that you're fighting against Satan. And at the end of the day, women come in different shapes and forms, but when you get down to it, it's all the same thing. I mean, let's just be honest. It's all the same thing. And when you have something, uphold that what you have. If you want peace in your life, and if you want peace in your relationship, give all of it to that one woman. Give all your heart, all your attention, all your mind to that one woman. Because if you ever get caught out here in this other thing, and this other thing you got going on, you're not going to have peace out there, nor will you have peace at your home. And that's, I want to live a life of peace. I don't want to live a life of confusion. I don't want to live a life when I go out with my wife, I'm limited to where I can go because I'm afraid I might bump into somebody. I don't want to live like that. I want to live a free and a peaceful life.
or scared of what somebody might say.
Right.
Keeping, and this goes for women too, keeping your side pieces happy out of fear that they're going to say something or out you.
Exactly. My dad used to always tell me, as a preacher, never sell your crown. And there are so many people in the church, they might not understand what that means, but to sell your crown means that there's somebody in that church that controls you. You're supposed to be the leader. You're supposed to be the leader of the church. You're supposed to be the leader of your family. Yet there's somebody else out on the outside that controls you, because if they can say one thing that can destroy your whole situation. That can bring you down as a pastor, bring you down as a leader, bring you down as a husband, mess up your whole home. That's why they call them home wreckers. Because that's exactly what they'll do. They will wreck your home.
Yeah.
And it's not worth it.